Hey, you guys. Here we are.
Yeah, I was sitting here fucking making eyes. Well, Pookie, what you doing? Hey, what's up?
We were just talking about her little baby days.
Talking about when first time I saw a damn video of her, and she was in a bird cage in somebody's garage and smacking a damn ball or something on the end of a string or some kind of hamster wheel or something. And I was like, yeah, okay, we'll take it. Yeah. We'll take her.
It was like, it was a friend.
She was like that big.
Yeah, she was little baby. Yeah. It was a friend of his mom's, like, found her in the backyard, and we had been talking about getting a kitten anyway, and she's like, sends us, like, a fucking...
Mom sent me the video of it, and I went, yeah, okay.
I mean, like I said, you can't send me pictures or videos of the kitten and be like, hey, you want this kitten? I'm like, yeah, I want that kitten.
Brought the cat home first day, and she's like, I'm not staying in the garage. And I said, no, put her in the bed with us. We were getting ready to go to sleep, and the fucking cat looked at both of us, and we looked at each other, and everybody just looking at each other.
It was so weird.
Turned the light off, went to sleep, woke up, and she was still there sleeping in between us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She didn't, like, hide or nothing for the first. She was a little wigged out at first because Beijing came over, and she was like, oh, no, a baby. I don't like that. And she was like...
Yeah, and then, like, the second day, they're making bread on Jenny, doing this.
Yeah. She still does that every now and then.
Yeah.
She loves this. She loves right here, like, where my neck meets my shoulder.
Yeah.
I have to sleep with a blanket piled right there because other's she'll just claw right into it.
And, all right, enough of kitty madness. Let's get to kitty madness. Let's talk about the movie that we saw.
Yeah. Okay. So we're doing a matinee today. This just dropped on Shudder yesterday, I think. Now it's weird because it said 2020 on Shudder. However, when I kind of looked into the past of the movie, it actually premiered at a horror festival in...
No, Poop, no.
Oh, in late 2018.
No.
And went to streaming, I think, in like on sale, like DVD and Blu-ray and shit like that in March of 2019. So this isn't actually like a brand new movie, but we only just saw it because, like I said, they just put it on Shudder, and it's only like a year or two old, so it still counts. This is actually called 30 Miles from Nowhere. Now, interestingly, the poster of it kind of looks like a generic slasher movie, Cabin in the Woods kind of movie. It's really not like that, though, and I feel like, but if you look it up, like, on IMDb, it's not actually listed so much as a horror movie. It's more as, like, a comedy thriller or, like, a horror comedy. So it definitely does, I think, lean more toward the comedy end than the horror end. Yeah. That said, I liked it a lot. Now, I can see how some people might not, depending on what your sense of humor is. But one thing that I kind of like I saw one reviewer call it The Big Chill meets Friday the 13th, which I thought was kind of accurate. That's kind of accurate.
It's a bunch of people like in their 30s and 40s. It's like a slasher, but instead of teenagers, they're in their 30s and 40s. And they're all trying to fuck each other, too.
And they're all a bunch of drunks.
Yeah, and that's about what happens. That's what happens, based on our experience. Those motherfuckers are always trying to fuck us. I'd be sitting there, man, fucking her. Never mind.
No.
We'll be outside the damn club when there's fucking these couples, man. Fucking Jenny be standing right next to me, and some girl come up and just start rubbing on my titties and shit. And I was like, what the fuck are you doing? And I look over, and her husband is fucking chatting her up and shit. We're like... we know them. You know what I mean? We know them. And that's what happens when you get fucking too many goddamn old people together.
We're the worst.
They all start trying to fuck each other. Especially when they're drinking.
Which is what I liked about this movie. Now
they show that happening.
And it's like, and I'm not going to say, like, a lot of the characters, because like you said, like, probably about 10 or 20
Most
minutes
of the characters are not likable.
They're unlikable, but I think they're kind of supposed to be. They're kind of supposed to be assholes.
They're typical fucking New England fucking, northern Yankee fucking... yuppies. That's kind of
middle-aged people who kind of they're kind of like, you know, probably middle class, upper middle class, but they didn't like do as much as they thought they probably should have, and so they're kind of like at the midlife crisis point.
Yeah, and totally fucking corporate and mainstream and fucking chodes, you know.
So like I said, I don't think they're necessarily supposed to be likable.
No, I don't think they are. They're supposed to be mundanes
because it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
And one thing I will say, like, I really like, it was directed by Caitlin Collar, and it was actually written by Shauna Kofoid, I guess is how you pronounce her last name, who is actually also in the movie as Elaine, who was probably my favorite character. She was like the drunk lesbian. But she had my favorite. There's a lot of great lines in this movie. Like the script of it, it's almost Altman-like in the way that like a lot of the conversations are kind of like over each other. So it's like realistic. But they're all very sarcastic and mean and backbiting. Yeah. And it's like they're all trying to like get one over on each other and everything. So they're all very venal kind of characters.
Yeah, and about whose degree is better than other with their jobs and just shit like that. It's just like I said, that real mundane fucking yuppie shit. Which that's the way they are.
That's what I mean. Yeah. That's what I thought. And I also liked, I said it was kind of refreshing to see. I mean, I don't know if I would call this a slasher movie. It does have some tropes of slasher, but it doesn't necessarily go in that direction like it is. I'm not going to spoil it, but it doesn't end up in that kind of place. But it does kind of have that sort of structure to it. But it's nice to see like a slasher adjacent type of movie that's all like cranky, grouchy, drunken, middle-aged people rather than a bunch of college kids.
Exactly. But my interpretation of it is that it's for the generations that grew up with the fucking early Friday the 13th and all the slashers like we did.
Yeah.
So I think it's aimed at our age group mostly. Oh, the young kids would like it maybe. I don't know. But I think it's for fucking X generation mostly.
It may be because like I said, we know people like this.
It's a throwback slasher movie for X generation.
Yeah, with a bunch of cranky middle-aged people,
which are X gen. Yep.
And it's just very, very funny. It's like I said. So the woman that wrote it, that plays Elaine, she actually gets my favorite line in the movie, which is like, you know, she's kind of like, they're all kind of drunks, but she's kind of like the worst drunk, and she's complaining because somebody finished off the wine, and then one of the other friends is like, "You have a drinking problem." She goes, "No fucking duh." Yeah. Which I thought was, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what she would answer. But yeah, so basically what happens, what the setup in the movie is, so you have like these 5 or 6 assholes, and they, well, like I said, they are kind of assholes, but they're funny assholes. Yeah. Like I said, they're very sarcastic, and they're always like talking shit about one another, and you know, doing shit behind other people's backs, and you know, it's shit like that. So they're like frenemies, I guess. So they're originally, I guess they're all from Wisconsin. I'm assuming this was shot in Wisconsin. But they've all subsequently moved away, except for one of them, whose name is Sylvia. And her husband, Max, who was, they were all like one big friend group, has ostensibly shot himself. And so all of these other friends are coming back for his funeral. And so there's a lot of tension between like all the friends because they haven't, like, they've kind of drifted apart, and then they say they're like best friends and blah blah blah, but it's like they're not real supportive of one another. It's like, you know, you didn't even come to any of my kids' baby shower, you didn't come to this, you know. So they're always like complaining and bitching at one another and moaning. So they end up at this at Sylvia's place in Wisconsin, and they're staying in her guest house prior to going to Max's funeral, and shit starts getting weird, particularly Sylvia, who is, you know, the widow, and she's acting a little bit sketchy, which they kind of point out, but it's kind of like everyone's like, whatever, fuck it, we're just here for the funeral, and they don't really seem all that sad or anything. They just come with booze, and it's like they're just hanging out, and they're all drinking and throwing up and trying to fuck one another's girlfriends and all this other kind of shit.
When you get to a certain age, the hormones are not the same. It's not like... It's not like teenagers. Teenagers will fucking fight each other over some shit like that. They're easily fucking offended. You get to a certain age, they're like, well, you know.
Well, once you get to a certain age, you don't really give a shit about anything anymore.
They're just trying to fuck. You're not taking it seriously.
Which sounds, I mean, you do still, I mean, you know, I do still give a shit about things.
Yeah, it's just.
But it's like.
It's not the same.
There's some shit that you can't really get all that worked up about.
Yeah, it ends up being it's just funny. They don't mean any insult by it.
And it's, you know, and it's more, and it's actually kind of liberating, like not really giving a crap about a lot of stuff anymore. That's just what happens when you get old. But like I said, so this movie, basically, like I said, I don't know, it has some horror elements, but I wouldn't call it a straight horror movie or even a slasher movie, even though it kind of is set up like that. It's more of like a mystery thriller, but I think comedy is the most, is kind of the most prevalent thing. Because pretty much for most of the runtime, it's just these characters, bitching and fighting with each other, like, over what they're gonna do about all this, like, escalating weirdness that's going on at this Wisconsin fucking, you know, house, you know what I mean? And they're kind of out in the middle of nowhere, 30 miles from nowhere, as they say, so they can't, there's no cell reception, there's like a storm coming. According to Sylvia, the road's been washed out, so they can't leave. It's like, you know, they can't get food delivered, they can't get this, that, and the other, you know, the power goes out, and then, like, you know, there's just, like, little things happen. There's, like, a roach infestation, there's all this other kind of shit going on. So, as all that's going on, everyone's, like, getting tempers are frayed, and they all just start, like, you know, pissing and moaning at each other and, like, trying to figure out what's going to happen. And like I said, there's a twist to it, and, like, you do find out what's going on, but this is definitely a movie that I think you would probably need to watch twice, because, I mean, I think I got the gist of what was going on.
It kind of lost me a couple times.
But, yeah, it's one of those ones
like,
where if you're not really paying attention to the end, you're going to be like, wait, what? So you really have to... I mean, the more I thought about it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I get it. And then there's, like, another, like, you know, kind of twist at the end where you're just like, oh, shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's definitely one where if you weren't paying attention the first time, you'll probably have to watch it again.
Yeah, I liked the movie. It's on Shudder, so you don't have to pay for it if you got Shudder. All right. Its production value is good. The quality's pretty good. The acting's good. Shot real well. It had a good tone to it. I would say there's only one thing wrong with the movie.
What's that?
It didn't have a very exciting score or soundtrack. Actually, it needed a little bit. You know what I'm talking about?
I didn't notice, actually.
It needed a little... The score, actually, it wasn't bad. It needed a soundtrack.
Yeah.
With some you know what I mean, with some songs in it or something at certain times during the intro and the outro.
I remember liking the opening song, but I don't remember any of the other music.
It was
that.
Like, that's what I'm saying. It had a serviceable score. It didn't really stand out.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I can really criticize.
Now, and I'm gonna say it's not super gory.
No, it's not.
It's not. You know, Fourth Road Round says it sounds like The Big Chill, but with murders. It definitely is like, it has a very Big Chill type of, you know, all these middle-aged people that, you know, used to be friends, but they're all kind of like really jealous of each other, and they're always, they haven't really been that great of friends to each other, so they're always like fighting.
Another thing was that there was no nudity in this.
There wasn't. It's weird because there was one shot, because one of the friends, I think his character's name is Jack.
Yeah.
And he arrives late, and he comes there with his 23-year-old girlfriend. So there is, like, one younger person.
Yeah.
So there's, like, conflict there as well. And then the lesbian's trying to, like, make a move on her because she's pretty.
Yeah.
And she's kind of a party girl. I think she does flash her tits for a second, but I don't think you see it. I think you only see it from the back.
For what they were trying to do with a slasher and trying to appeal to X generation, it should have had a lot more nudity in it.
Probably.
They kind of missed the boat, because that's what the genre was, and that's what the dialogue was demanding.
Yeah,
the way they were talking. Yeah, they were talking sporty to one another. I thought some lesbian action was going to break out at any minute. They start talking about titties and shit, and your titties are like, well, yeah, let's see them. You know, pull them out. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of shit that should have happened. And then there's some like interracial shit almost happened between a white dude and an Asian girl, and then the Asian girl and a black dude, and it looked like all this shit was going to happen. They're like, well, why didn't it happen? We talked about it. If you mention the shit in a movie like this, you got to show it.
It's like,
if you're not going to show it, shut the fuck up.
It's like Chekhov's gun, but it's like Chekhov's sex talk.
Yeah.
If you say it, you have to show it.
That's another criticism I can give the movie. But all in all, it's satisfying to watch. You know.
Like I said, just don't go into it expecting it to be like a slasher movie, because it actually is more of a comedy than anything else. But it has like a lot of slasher or mystery thriller elements to it. It's kind of hard to explain. That's why I liked that reviewer said Friday the 13th meets The Big Chill, because it was kind of like that, except not as gory, like, you know what I mean, or not as overtly slasher, because it's not really a slasher. It's like some other weirder shit that's going on, you know what I mean, that you kind of find out. But yeah, I liked it. Because it kind of kept me invested in like what the mystery was, what the fuck was going on, why was Sylvia acting so weird. You know, they find like some weird shit like in the basement and stuff that's kind of like, oh, that's unpleasant and shit like that. So it's, it had a good
Tammy's saying old people like nudity too. Well, here's another thing. you don't even actually have to show the nudity. You just have to let the audience know that the nudity happened. Like, remember in that damn movie about the porn stars? What was the name of that movie? No, it had Burt Reynolds in it.
Oh, the old one. Yeah. Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights, yeah. Burt Reynolds, he meets Dirk Diggler, you know what I mean? And he goes, I've heard that you're very talented and all this kind of shit. And he's like, yeah, I'm very talented. He goes, let me see it. And Dirk pulls it out on him. Now, from the angle, you can't see it.
Yeah.
But, Burt Reynolds could see it.
They showed it at the end, though.
Yeah, I guess they did, didn't they? But yeah. Burt Reynolds could see it.
That was like the very last scene.
He just he's hit, like he's starstruck. You know what I mean? Remember
I love that.
And he just goes into this, goes into this meat gazing spell, and then he shakes it off and he goes, "Thank you, Dirk. Thank you, thank you."
I love that.
That shit was fucking over the fucking moon. That shit was over the fucking top. That was one of the greatest scenes of all fucking times.
Just his facial expression.
Look at it.
Good
and then his thank you. Like he had witnessed the fucking modern, like a miracle of nature or some shit, man. And you see, if you're gonna talk about it, at least do something like that. You know what I mean? To fucking pull the audience in, because that was the equivalent of like in Pulp Fiction when fucking what's his name opens the damn briefcase and all the fucking golden light comes out, and you never see what it is. You never see what's in there. Yeah.
I don't think they ever decided what was it. It's like I feel like sometimes filmmakers put shit like that in their movies just to make people talk about them after. I don't think they have any.
Couldn't have been gold. That much gold would have fucking been so heavy they wouldn't be able to carry it. It's heavier than lead.
I think Jesus was in there.
I guess it was just supposed to be heroin or something, but it was like light gold. Enough to fucking, retire for 5 lifetimes. Street value,
It'd have been really funny if he made a sequel and they found out what was really in there and it was just like one of these lights like we have us like just glowing yellow.
Let me tell you all a story. A story about a secret package. I read a biography of Howard Hughes, and part of the biography was written by stories, or the source was one of Howard Hughes' right-hand man, who was actually just a boxer hired off the street, and fucking Hughes had him trained and put him in charge of managing the fucking Hughes empire, because he didn't trust lawyers or anything else. So he made his own, basically, manager, okay?
Yeah.
Hughes disappears for like 2 years. They don't know where the fuck he is. This is when he was going into his fucking real crazy period after all those head injuries.
Growing his fingernails and pooping in bottles and stuff.
Yeah. So out of nowhere, this fucking manager who used to be a boxer, I forgot what his name is, gets a fucking phone call, and he goes, "I need you to come get me." And he goes, "Boss, is that you?" And he goes, "Yes, I need you to come get me." And he gives him tells him where he's at, and he's at some place that Hughes owned, where they both knew, some business. And when he shows up, Hughes got this old fucking jalopy, all right. And he opens up the back of and then he brings his guy into the fucking office, and he goes, in the back of that car, there's a trunk. I want you to take the trunk. I want you to fucking wrap the trunk in fucking number 3 butcher paper. I want you to fucking wrap the outside of it with twine. And he gave him the fucking diameter of the twine, like what gauge twine it was, and how to wrap it, what kind of knots to use. And this shit's going on for a long time. Telling him how to wrap this fucking trunk that's in the fucking trunk of the car. All right, and he goes, then I want you to build an airstrip, and then he shows him where he wants to build a fucking private airport. And he says, I want you to fucking connect a road from the airport to this road here, and I want you to put a guard booth here, and then the guard booth and blah blah blah. And next to the airport, I want you to put this fucking. He has like a little building built, not very big, like 1 room. Tells him he wanted a window unit, an air conditioner. He had to fucking get the electricity out to it. And he just tells him to build an airport, a guard booth, a road out to it, okay, and this building that's air conditioned, a little building with a window unit. And he goes, and then I want you to take that trunk, and I want you to put that in there, and I want you to lock it, and then fucking lock the outside of that door, and I want a telephone going to the guard tower, and I want a guard on it. I think he wanted 2 guards, or 1 guard or 2 guards, on it 24 hours a day. He tells him what fucking company, because he owned security companies too. How many shifts and all these fucking details about guarding this fucking trunk. And he had been gone for like a couple years because he just used to disappear. So his manager's like, man, that must be some fucked up shit in that damn. So they do it. They have it all built because he had construction companies. Hughes basically owned all the United States at that period of time, or at least the FBI wasn't sure how much of the United States he owned, but he could probably single-handedly collapse the stock market if he did something crazy. So they had him under observation all the time. So they get all that shit built like pretty quick in a matter of a few weeks, with a little airstrip to get to it and everything. And he has that fucking trunk put in there and forgets all about it. Like 6-7 years later, he gets a fucking phone call. And it came from that facility. And the guard there said, some water built up in that air conditioner. It dripped out through the front and got on top of that damn box. And it's soaked in through the paper. Because they were told to check it every few months.
Yeah.
And he had forgotten all about that fucking box, that trunk. And he goes, I gotta go down there and see what this is. You know what I mean? And he took some dudes with him, too. And they were going to rewrap it with paper, just like they did before, so boss wouldn't find out. And as they were rewrapping it, they said, let's open it.
It's like, I'm dying.
Let's open this shit. And they were really thinking the worst. All right, they opened it. You know what was in there?
What was in there?
They were Roy Roger or Red Ryder comic books. I think they were Red Ryder comic books. And a bunch of douchebags and douches with dates on them.
Nice.
Yeah. That's a Howard Hughes story.
He's like, I need to keep this stuff. This stuff is very important.
He built a fucking airport and a guard booth and fucking a whole building to fucking guard some douchebags, some douches and comic books. So that's where
I don't even think they even sell douches anymore, do they?
No, just a douchebag. They were all wrapped up, and they were all dated. They were all dated.
Whose were they?
They don't know. They never asked him. They never asked boss. They just put it back.
They're just like,
yeah, they never asked boss.
We're just gonna put that right. That's the craziest shit ever.
Glenn's asking, were they used? They said evidently they were used. They were all wrapped.
About
they were coiled up and then taped nicely. That he had done it, and then they had little tags on them with dates.
That's just so weird.
Yeah, with a bunch of comic books that weren't worth anything back in those days. They were worthless comic books.
Yeah, it's like, well, nowadays they would probably be worth something. But
maybe, but not then.
It's just funny because, although I don't know, if I had all the money like on Earth, I might do something like that just to fuck with people. Just like put the most random shit in there and just like make that. Now you can never ever open this, and I'm gonna put it in a fucking vault, and I'm gonna put like and I'm gonna put a dragon outside. I'm gonna do this, that, and the other, and everybody's like curiosity be like freaking out, and they open it, and there's like there's like a stale Hostess cupcake in there.
Yeah, Hughes was like that, but he wasn't pulling a joke. He really was.
Yeah, I know.
He had real bad OCD and multiple head injuries, and he would start glitching out and doing weird shit. And then he would go hide for several years and try to regain sanity, fight his way out of it. And, that was one of the little things he did.
We should do a show about Howard Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
I'm surprised that we haven't done one up to now.
Howard was fucking cool. I liked Howard. It wasn't his fault that he went that way.
It's a mental illness. It's like he didn't really have any choice in the matter, did he?
Well, the OCD didn't develop until after multiple fucking repeated head injuries.
Yeah. From
crashing airplanes and cars. And that's where it came from. And we're talking about like 4 very serious traumatic head injuries within a short period of time. And that's kind of where all that came from. And he owned a fucking huge empire.
Yeah.
And they stole his money, basically.
Well, that's what would happen if you had a whole bunch of money and like you were in your right mind.
Yeah, he had a private investigation security company that worked directly for him. That was made up of guys from the Church of Latter-day Saints, which is the Mormons. He liked them because they didn't drink, and they were honest, and they didn't give him any kind of problem about having multiple girlfriends. Because, this is a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they were the most high-tech, best-trained intelligence unit in the United States. In fact, the the FBI modeled themselves after Hughes's network.
Yeah.
But anyway, over time, when Hughes started to weaken, they siphoned his security agency siphoned most of his money off of him and into the church, and with it they built Salt Lake City and their church. That
so
was
I guess
huge
they weren't
money.
so honest after all.
Well, no, they knew he was dying.
Yeah.
They were doing that when they knew he was out of his fucking mind and he was dying. So that's... And he didn't care, I don't think. He just
weren't just like...
He didn't care. He didn't really care about money towards the end.
Yeah, I guess not.
He was running from money. Okay, let's end the show. I fucking sidetracked the fuck out of this.
Yeah, you did. Oh yeah, I want to say Zach said he'd kill to see a show on Howard Hughes.
Okay.
You know what? I will put that on because you guys, if you are one of our patrons, which I know most of the people here are, I'm gonna start doing those polls. You're gonna be able to pick what the topic for the following show is going to be and what the movie retrospective for the following week is going to be. And I'm going to start putting those polls up this Friday. So it's not so when you choose a topic for the show, that it won't be like for the next day, it'll be like for the following week. You know what I'm saying? Because I still need like a week to do the research and shit like that. But if you're one of our patrons, even at like, you know, the first tier or whatever, go over there on Friday. I think I have them out at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and vote on. There's 5 choices for each thing, so you can vote on what thing you want.
Hold on. Zach's saying he thinks Hughes was had Asperger's. No, he didn't. He was a regular. He was actually a genius. He was a broadband genius, and he didn't go to school. He just hired tutors to come and teach him, like a top. And he said he knew aviation technology and all kinds of stuff. He was extremely intelligent.
Well, a lot of Asperger's is too.
Yeah, but there's a big difference. He was also fucking very socially outgoing, and fucking was.
Thank you, Mango.
Thank you very much, Mango,
for the show on Saturday. Legend.
Yeah. And
God, I'm so scared to watch it now.
He bought RKO. He formed RKO Pictures so he could date movie starlets. He was socially extremely functional. So no, he didn't have Asperger's.
Yeah.
His problems developed after he crashed. The first one happened when he crashed an airplane and hit his head on the front of it. It was like a World War I style biplane. And then he started fucking wrecking cars and airplanes, and he refused to go to the hospital or get any treatment when he was, obviously, one time I think he was in a coma for a few hours, I think. But he'd get out of the damn hospital.
Head injuries.
Multiple head injuries. It fucks you up. And then with that, he got OCD from that.
Well, even one head injury will fuck you up. I mean, how many fucking serial killers have we talked about that like got a head injury when they were a kid and then they became serial killers?
Yeah,
I'm not saying that was the only thing.
He had repeated ones and probably worse than what a damn American football player would have had. Good thing he didn't really drink, so I think that helped out. If he'd been into drugs and alcohol, it would have been even worse.
Well, yeah.
And he was under a lot of stress, and somehow this caused the formation of obsessive-compulsive disorder and insanity. Repeated thoughts over and over and over your head, which is head injury stuff.
Yeah. And that's OCD. I mean,
OCD,
obsessive compulsive, because that's like a thought you can't
get rid of it.
Glowing Turtle said, "I picked up Lone Wolf and Cub Criterion Collection on your recommendation. Good stuff, thanks." It's so. I mean, aside from the movies being awesome, that fucking collection is so beautiful.
Yeah, that was the original Mandalorian.
Yeah,
that one. And somebody else, I found a video that mentioned that.
Yeah, which is weird. I totally didn't see that beforehand. I was just thinking that because I'm like, it's like a tough dude and a baby, and they just go from like place to place. I said, it's like Lone Wolf and Cub.
Yeah, a lot of Star Wars was borrowed from samurai movies.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right, let's go ahead and let it go, huh?
Yeah, so like I said, if you like horror comedy, kind of the snarky variety, then you will probably dig this. It's on Shudder, called 30 Miles from Nowhere. Came out in 2018, but fuck it, we're reviewing it now. But yeah, so check it out, and we will talk to you guys again tomorrow. Bye.